So there are a couple things that I need to understand in order to print the 5160 labels from a Google Sheet. Each of the cells, the bigger cells, are set up to print correctly on a 5160 label. Each of the grid lines are also set up as white, and this is done so that it can print correctly. So you can't see where that cell is, but there is few enough labels that I think everybody can understand where those labels will be. If these weren't white, then you have to change some of the print settings and uncheck a few of the text boxes. So right now these cells are set up to automatically wrap. So as I type information, the text itself is just going to wrap to a new line. So if I wanted to type some information for students, it's set up to be left justified the center of the cell, and it will automatically wrap. So because the height of this cell didn't change, this label will print correctly. Let's say I had some additional text and I needed to change the font. So I'm just going to go grab some text and I'm just going to print this or put this in this cell A2, and you'll see that when I paste the value, this got a little bit bigger. So you'll see that if I change the font size, it doesn't automatically shrink the text. What happens is it automatically makes this cell taller, and the label will not print correctly. So I just have to be aware that the cell can't get bigger. This will print perfect on an actual 5160 label. So if I have some text and I'm unsure if that cell has gotten taller, what I can do is I could always decrease the font size, and then I could increase the font size until I see that cell get bigger, like right there, and I know that I could set this inside of 8 and this is going to be fine. So I could have just simply one label, or I could fill this entire thing with content. So let's just say I'm going to copy this for students, and let's say I wanted to have this for a few of my labels. I'm going to have a few that aren't going to print. That's going to be perfectly fine. These will just be open. So that is the first thing, is making sure that my text inside of the cells is going to fit correctly. Once I'm done here, I have to go inside of my print dialog, and there are a few things that I have to change and a few things that I have to set up. I think once you've done this a couple of times, you won't have to come back to this video. So once I hit print, by default it puts some stuff here. You'll notice that this actually wouldn't print the 5160 labels. So I have to come over here to headers and footers first, and I'm going to uncheck all of that information. I also want to make sure that this is in portrait mode, and you'll see right now the way this is set up it actually only has 2 columns. So what I also have to do is come over to my margins and choose custom margins, and I need to change the top margin to 0.25, hit enter. I need to change the left margin to 0, the right margin to 0, and my bottom margin to 0 as well. And now you'll notice that this actually fits on a single sheet of paper. And you'll say, well, my labels actually have a little bit of an edge. They don't print to the edge. So I can't have a left margin of 0, but the printer is smart enough to know it actually can't print to the edge of the piece of paper. So with some trial and error, what I've found is that setting this Google Sheet up this way, when I print my labels, I have a little bit of space on either side of my label, on the left and the right, and as long as my text doesn't get larger, I can easily print the 5160 labels given this Google Sheet and the information inside of this print dialog box. I would then choose next, and then this is actually going to be the labels that would come out of the printer. And you'll see here now there's actually going to be a margin because the printer by default is going to have a margin. So this is the information and setup to print the 5160 labels from this Google Sheet template.